Good evening. Good evening. Whoa. Blue Table Talk. This is the first Blue Table Talk of 2023, I think. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Well, anyway, good evening, everyone. We would like to welcome you all to Blue Table Talk today. My name is Tawana Collins Boo, and mm, 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 mm. My co-host with me today, having been at the blue table in three
Three.
long years. Three, let's count them out. One, two, three. So we know we now he's just gonna have to reintroduce himself because it's some new subscribers, it's some new followers on Facebook. 3 long years. I done wrote a book. They done read all about you in the book. So you're gonna have to reintroduce yourself because we got too many new people. So you could just say your name. You definitely gonna have to reintroduce yourself. 'Cause it's been 2019 since you've been to this blue table, and it's 2023.
That's a long time. That's a long time, but we've been through quite a bit
Yeah,
as a society.
yeah,
Matter of fact, the whole world has been through quite an ordeal with that coronavirus
yeah. The
and
pandemic.
the pandemic, and it's still lingering on in
Hmm.
many places. Doctors are reporting they're seeing an upswing in the cases of COVID-19 popping back up. So we still have to take our precautions. But yeah, I haven't been to the Blue Table Talk in quite a while. You know, I was always impressed by the great work that the Blue Table Talk was doing, sharing information with the community, sharing information with the world, because this is this YouTube I know and the Facebook is viewed all over the world.
Hmm.
Last semester, I did telesupervision in Ghana at the University of Ghana. And I know many of the speech therapy students there were viewing Blue Table Talk with Mrs. Tawana Booth and talking about autism. But in those 3 years, an awful lot has occurred in the field of autism, in the condition of autism, and the awareness of autism has really risen. And the CDC is even reporting a significant rise in the prevalence of autism
Autism.
in the United States. I think 3 years ago they were talking about 1 in 68,
Hmm.
and now they're talking about 1 in 36.
1 in 36.
That's a
Yep.
that's a doubling, generally, almost of the cases of
But before
autism.
we start, you got to tell the people who you are. You got to reintroduce
Oh,
yourself. You got to
oh,
reintroduce
I've been
yourself.
away that long. Huh?
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
I want them to know who you are, so they can know for the people who read the book that they can know who Mr. Arnell Brady is. So
all
would you
right.
please reintroduce
Sure.
yourself?
I'm sorry. My name is Ernell Brady. I'm a private practice speech language pathologist in the Chicago area, licensed in California, Indiana, Arkansas, Georgia, and Illinois. I'm the owner and clinical director of Brady Speech Language Pathology Limited, located right here in the High Park community of Chicago. I've been practicing speech language pathology for ooh, 39 years. And I've always been a direct provider of clinical services. I've never been an academician. I've never been a researcher. I've always been a therapist. Um, and in those 39 years, I've worked 3 hospitals: University of Chicago hospitals, St. Joseph Hospital, and Providence Hospital of Cook County. Um, one of my interests has been neurogenic communication disorders, which autism fits into. I think my very first student was a 3-year-old autistic boy uh, who was going to Ancona, the Montessori school up the street. And now, the last I heard, he was grown, had a job, and was doing very, very well. I think it was like the manager of one of the hotels here in the Chicago area. But I've been working with autism support groups for just about that long because, you know, one child with autism comes into the family. Generally, that's a lot more than the family can handle.
Yes.
And the family needs help, they need support. Uh, and just the schools is not enough.
Nope.
The schools are overloaded, overworked, and busting at the seams. And they have so many other issues going on, especially in Chicago public schools. So there has to be outside resources for the families. And parents of children with autism need to band together and form these support groups and create entities like Mrs. Booth has done here, the Blue Table Talk, in which there's the sharing of information. Um, I know one of the other parents, who is an AKA, is having an AKA Autism Awareness event. And I think that is just wonderful, especially when you consider the fact that there are 320,000 AKAs in the United States. I
Wow.
mean, that's getting that information out there.
Yeah.
But we know that just getting the information out there is not enough. You know, like they say biblically, faith without work is dead.
Yeah.
So not only
We
do
to
we have
move
to raise
past awareness.
awareness, that's
Yeah.
right.
We got
We
to
we got
move
to get
with
to work.
action, inclusion. Yeah, we need action. We
Engagement,
need
yes.
more than just awareness. We all aware. Everybody know. We've
Everybody
been
know
hollering it for years.
autism,
The numbers, like
autism
you were saying in
is
the
just going
beginning,
up.
the numbers are on the rise. The numbers, the CDC reported, the numbers, the new statistics numbers are 1 in 36.
Yes.
1 in 8 boys would be diagnosed with autism, and it's
Wow,
one in
wow,
36.
that's a
And like
lot.
you said, a couple of years, it was just 1 in 44. I was reporting, and 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And you said 3 years ago it was one in 60,
168, yeah, 68
168.
is
So the number is every couple of years is
it's
drastically,
increasing, it's increasing,
drastically
it's increasing,
increasing.
it's increasing.
So that's the reason why we way past being aware.
And
It's time for
it's
something
all over
to
the
be
world,
done.
and it's
It's
all
all
over
over
the
the
world.
world.
It's all over the
Everyone
world.
is
I'm
affected.
treating children with autism through the teletherapy, telemedicine in Ghana, in Nigeria. It's all over the world. China, Russia, everybody has their number of uh, children and adults on the spectrum. And we are quickly trying to come up with interventions and treatments that will lessen the adverse effect that autism is having on the family and on society. We're constantly working to improve. I know for many years and even today, they're simply saying that autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder
Mm-hmm.
that basically is characterized by significant deficits in social communication. You know, that's going to change in a few years.
Okay.
And because what they are discovering in this neuroimaging and imaging the brain, and even in some cases, dissecting the brain after a person with autism has died, they're learning so much about the brain that pretty soon they're going to get away from just calling it a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by deficits in social communication. They're going to be calling exactly what it is. They're going to be identifying the neural substrates in the anatomy and the functioning and the connectivity of the brain, because this is how we're even seeing today how we can greatly improve the development and the speech and language function and the social communication of people diagnosed with autism. It's not so much trying to develop behaviors as much as it is in trying to improve the brain functioning of these individuals. And we're getting a lot of positive results. I saw one study
That's what we like to
that they
hear.
had done in Germany in which they used cold laser on some, I think it was teenage boys diagnosed with autism who also had behavior disorders.
Okay.
And just very small treatments of a cold laser to the back of their head, the behaviors in the autism, the adverse behaviors in the autistic boys disappeared and had long term effects. So we are learning every day that there are ways of improving the functioning of people born with autism, not by simply training them to do certain behaviors or to act in a certain way, but improving the anatomy, the functioning, and the connectivity of their brain.
Mm.
And we can do it with exercise. They're doing it with lasers. So this field is really changing. But now, what about the parents who are dealing with this today? Because a lot of those interventions are still in the research stage, and
Yeah.
so it's going to be a while before those types of interventions are on the market. But what about the parents that are dealing with the condition of autism in their family, because we know that that condition can can have a very damaging effect upon the smooth functioning of the family, um,
Yes.
especially when you're not getting adequate services in the schools. And in many cases, you're unable to access outside services.
Yes.
And so many people are left to their own design and trying to simply keep the child safe, to keep the child healthy, to keep the child clothed.
It's definitely a
The
lot now because
yes,
everything that went up, the economy,
oh my Lord,
everything is skyrocketing. And
yes,
then,
yes,
you trying to, like you said, keep food on the
keep
table.
yeah,
And then now you have to, you have to get services for your child.
yeah,
Your child needs the services.
yeah,
So it's just like, why? What am I going to do?
yeah. So keep food on the table and say the autistic child is throwing the food away. So it can be very difficult, I know. But the hope is if in my 39 years of doing this, I've always been an advocate of parents. You you must pool together.
Yep.
You must lock arms. You must join hands in this condition, in this situation. You can't be out there by yourself.
No, you can't do it alone,
You
and
can, you
it's
cannot.
rough if you try to do it alone. That's why
Yes,
when I go out speaking, I make sure parents know that you're not out here alone. There's parent groups out here, there's advocate groups out here. You have family that if you talk to them about it, they'll be willing to help you. So please don't try to do it alone because it will be a lot. It'll take a toll on you trying to do it alone. So you don't have to do it alone. Not in 2023. You definitely don't
you
have to do it
definitely
alone.
don't
There's
have
too
to do
many
it alone.
resources.
Yes,
YouTube, uh, TikTok. It's just too many resources. Please don't do it alone.
I was in Washington D.C. last week, and doing a presentation on speech and language services post COVID and how many things have changed for us. And I was in a hotel a couple of blocks from the White House. And so one evening I said, well, I'm going to just walk over and look at the White House. And as I was walking down the street, guess what I saw?
What?
I saw a huge building with Autism Speaks on the building. They have their own building a block from
From
the
the
White
White
House.
House. Oh, okay.
And I was thinking about people like Paul Butler and his wife and the early work that they had done and pulling together parents and trying to help parents through this very difficult time. And, you know, support groups were poor. I mean, they didn't have any money to do a lot of things,
Yeah.
to set up hotline calls, to pass out literature, to have different events. And I was saying to them, you can't do this thing alone.
Mm-mm.
You can't take your child and then hide, keep them in the house. You know, God has given you a very special assignment. And that assignment is to take care of that child that he has given you.
Yes.
And God doesn't expect for you to do it alone.
Mm-mm.
God is saying to you, speak out, call out for help from other people. Let people know what you are dealing with, because if you don't tell them, they don't know. They
That's
just
true.
walk right by you as if everything is okay. Because many of the autistic children are very handsome and they're very beautiful, and you really don't know anything is different until you start interacting with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so people don't know, and you can't hide this thing. If God has given you a special child, the whole world knows it. So you might as well ask for help, and groups need to ask for help. And I think it's almost like public knowledge now that autism supports. I think one of the organizations that I belong to have given them over $15,000 in the past 2 years, and we're going to give them more because there are so many organizations out there, non-for-profit organizations that must, do you hear me? That must give that money away. If they don't, the IRS is going to come after them because they are supposed to be a non for profit,
Yes.
not for profit, but they're collecting, they're making lots of money, and they have to give that money away over the what their expenses might be. And so our organizations like Chicagoland Autism Connection, Families United,
Oh, Families
A
United.
Place for Me,
Yeah.
are you all asking for help? Are you letting people know where you are and the conditions that you're dealing with? The condition that you're dealing with is a very worthwhile condition. It's an honorable condition. It's God's will that you help those who are having problems helping themselves. So you should not be ashamed to ask for help. You should not be ashamed to go into all corners of this earth asking for help. How do
We
you think?
trying.
How do you think that building a block from the White House got there? It got there on people helping them to have a place where people can come to, where lobbyists can work, where people can get information from, where people can feel like they are included. Chicagoland Autism Connection ought to have a space. They ought to have a nice little house somewhere to where it can be a dispenser of information, where people can call and get resources, where people can come and talk to counselors and therapists and physicians and others involved in the care of people on the autism spectrum.
But it's so hard for us in our community to get the help. That's what it is. It's hard. Okay, out there in their community, they resources, they help each other. So it's hard in our community because we don't have a lot of resources with mainly everything. Not even just the autism community, but anything. It's hard for us to get resources. It's hard for us to get jobs. It's just hard. But you going outside community, just like if you go out in the suburbs, your child could get the best help, but you still can't find that same help that they get out there in the suburbs, right here in 2 blocks from your house. You will have to drive miles away, and that's the reason why a lot of parents don't get the help. Like I was asking, telling the parents when I was speaking to them about, a lot of them didn't even know about ABA. Why? Because ABA not 2 blocks from their house. ABA is in the suburb, and if they don't have transportation to get to ABA, how they don't even know about it. No one's telling them about it. They don't know how to get that. They had never heard in 2023.
2023.
One of the main resources that will help your child. They didn't even heard about it until I was telling them about George, all of the therapies that I had for George. That's when they was like, "What is that? What is that?" I was very shocked. So again, it's our community always underserved with everything, and it's like it's not everybody like you.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
that's
You
what
like you reach out to us
that,
and you help us.
That's why I love you, Mrs. Booth, because you took that information there. Now they knew. Now they do know about AVA. But you know what? We have to say this. We cannot let the past stop us from doing what we need to do.
Never.
Yes, we've had a very rough time. People would rather spend money on clothes and cars and jewelry and unnecessary food that's killing them before they would put something into an autism support group. $5, $10. They'd rather throw it away than give it to a group like that. But that's in the past, and we got to stop looking at the past and making judgments and predictions about the future. Yes, we've had a rough time, but you know what? We're not going to let that rough time stop us. We're going to keep reaching out, just like you are doing. You're going to keep reaching out. You're going to keep going to these schools and spreading that message and spreading that word and talking about how people can be helped. And you know what? I guarantee you that God is going to see what you're doing and he's going to pour out more blessings and he's going to give you all of the help that you really need to get that message out there. Because right now, you have become an angel in the field of this autism. Who would ever have thought 5, 10 years ago that you would have a book, you and your son would have a book, that your son would be graduating from college? I was there when he was very, very young, 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, he started with you
and the schools was saying that he couldn't learn. And then when he was demonstrating that he could learn, some of the teachers was holding him back intentionally because they liked him so much. They liked him so much that they were smothering him to death. No, that's not teaching. That's not teaching at all. That's what you call educational abuse. So, and how many of them are out there right now? How many Georges are out there not receiving the appropriate educational uh, resources and the educational management that they are entitled to?
It's a lot. I saw, like I said, I saw a classroom.
Classroom
full. Classroom full. I was very shocked. So, and then I let them know, excuse me, that you have to get outside help. Because if you didn't even know about ABA therapy, at a school, that you should definitely know about all the therapies, and you have to use other resources outside of the school, so you can help your child get more, be more productive. And
well, that's that again, I can't praise, sing your praises enough because your child, all of your children, as a matter of fact, have made it. And you could very easily sit back and let those do it for themselves, let them fend for themselves. But you're not. And I know you're not doing this for money because you're spending money to do it. But you're putting that word out there. You're putting that word out there.
Because I feel like you said, I feel like that, God made, I feel like God the one told me to get up and do something. So when I got up and did something, I feel like life changed for me. Life definitely changed for my son. He kept me going. He kept me moving. He gave me the resources, directed me, guided me, and everything. So I feel like he did it for my son, only for me to give it back in return. And that's how life works. You have to give back. You can't just get it and just keep moving with it. You have to give back, and that's how you become blessed. I know when somebody bless you, you bless somebody else. So by me blessing somebody else, I hope in return they bless somebody else. So that's the reason why I'm still doing what I do, because I know people out here, they need to hear this. They need to hear our story. They need everybody have a story. So they need to hear it. And Sonia, congratulations to you too. You told your story at your son's school. Everybody, all of us have a story out there. And one day I want you all to write a book. That's coming too. We'll talk about that later. But
You know, you know what you're doing with Blue Table Talk and what you've done with co-authoring the book, The Diagnosis Did Not Stop the Dream, is so important because you are looking out for the future. You're looking out for the future families that's going to have a baby born into that family with autism, or a child who is going to develop autism in their lifetime. And the numbers are going up,
yeah,
but the diagnosis and the treatment is also going up. So no longer is the diagnosis of autism some sort of death sentence.
Definitely not.
Or some sort of permanent impairment.
Nope.
Condition. There's some work being done at Northwestern University, and it's called the frequency following response. It's an extension of the ABR, the auditory brain reflex.
Okay.
And this is what they give every infant born in a hospital in the United States must have a hearing test. And it's called the ABR, where all they are really doing is testing the integrity of the auditory nerve. But now they have extended that to where they are putting sensors on the scalp of an infant just born, and they are analyzing the electroencephalography, the EEG brain signals of the brain, and they can tell if that infant is going to be autistic, dyslexic, have had a concussion, or language deprivation, that is, difficulty learning language. And they can do this over the lifespan. So, can you see how this resource is going to be so important?
Mm-hmm.
Because so many more people are going to be diagnosed very early.
Okay.
And if they're diagnosed very early, possibly the interventions can get to them at that early age, and they can overcome these impairments so it will not be a handicap in their life. So, but organizations like yours, organizations like All Families United, No Place for Me, Chicagoland Autism Connection, are going to be so important to the community. It would be so important if you all could band together as one so that your collective voices and your collective energies and your collective resources could make a greater impact on the total community. When you all are spread out all over the place, you're just a little whimper.
Okay.
You're just a little whimper in the noise.
Okay.
But when you band together and go into phase, you're a loud cry. Okay. And people will come to that cry. Okay. They will bring you resources because remember, you're doing a wonderful job. This is not any sort of pansy game. This is no sort of pyramid game. This is no scam.
It's our life.
You are improving the lives of your fellow human beings. So I congratulate you all on the work that you're doing. And anything that I can do to help, I'm going to do it because you're doing the right thing.
Well, we want to thank you so much because you already everything you since day you've been with George, and that's what I wanted to tell them. I wanted to leave. I wanted one question to ask you. Can you tell the parents what lead them with a message that you would want them to know far as therapies coming to therapy?
Well, the thing about therapy is consistency, frequency, and intensity. If you take just a little bit of time and every day you move that needle towards normalcy every day, you're going to get there a whole lot faster than if you come one time and then you don't come back for a while. You know, it's not going to move
Okay.
because you got to start all over
Over
again.
again.
You got to start
Mhm.
over again. So I'd say reach out, reach out. Parents get together, and I've seen this done in many communities. You know, some people say, well, all I have is Medicaid, and nobody seems to want to take the Medicaid. You know, um, listen, parents, if you all pool together and get other people to pool together. I've seen you all buy those creatures limousines and silk suits. I've seen you all build these clubs and do all sorts of things with your money, but it doesn't help anybody but outsiders who are really not a part of your community in the first place. But if you will focus on helping that child in the best way you can. You got to sacrifice. Miss Booth sacrifice
You
coming
definitely got to
here
sacrifice.
every day of the week for an hour. Just 1 hour. It takes 2 hours to get here, another hour to get back home. And then when you get back home to get reorientated to home, that's another hour. So she was taking literally 5 to 6 hours of her day to get 1 hour of help. But look how it paid off.
You definitely paid off. You definitely have to stay consistent.
And you know, the beauty of it, you can see how independent and strong her child has become. I remember when they said autistic, speech language impaired, questionable cognitive involvement. I saw it. Behavior disorder. Come on, they just be fishing a lot of times when they don't know what to do. They'll come up with something.
Always. We know that.
So I can just say to parents, hey, look, Miss Booth is sitting here now. She could probably be at home, watching television or doing something else. You got to get involved because you know what? Your life is going like that. Tomorrow ain't promised nobody.
Nope.
And your life, your child's life, is going, is clicking away every day. You have to put something into it. You're going to have to sacrifice. And I'm telling you, if you sacrifice, it'll be all right. There's that scripture in the Bible that talks about the little boy that was dropped and his legs were broken and he couldn't walk. But he always had a space at the king's table. That's because of the work that the parents did. When a parent is investing in her child, she's not really just investing in that child. That parent is investing in themselves. So help is out here. The knowledge is out here. And a lot of it is free if you just ask. But I would like to see these groups get together and have fundraisers. My colleague up in Elmhurst, she has one fundraiser a year that allows for a large number of children to come to her speech and language center for free. For free. I'm a member of the Scottish Rite Masons. We have dyslexia centers in 13 states in the Northern Masonic jurisdiction, and all the kids go free. Because the parents and the other Masons got together and had fundraisers to help these children. There's a lot of people out there that would give to a worthy cause.
Yeah.
They
That's
would give
definitely
to
one
a
of my
worthy
goals,
cause.
though.
They would give to a worthy cause.
One of my goals, I do want to one day have fundraisers, and so I can start if it's two kids that
That's right,
they
two kids, one kid,
get
a half a
speech
kid,
therapy
yes.
service,
occupational
and then it keeps
therapist,
going
ABA
on where it could be
services.
5 kids. That is one of my goals that eventually I will raise enough money so I can, award kids to come here to the number one speech language pathologist in the world. Y'all heard him in the beginning, all the places he said he's licensed, even in Ghana. So you don't have to come all the time, come in no more. It's easier now. You can just be online. You got online classes, right?
We got online stuff. That's how I'm treating the kids in Nigeria and Ghana. But my colleague in Elmhurst, she's up there with Frito Lay. There's a lot of small and maybe even large industrial places and commercial places. They give, they give to her center, but the parents gotta ask. The parents gotta say, hey, if we can buy Frito Lay, if we can buy Comcast, if we can buy AT&T, if we drink Budweiser gives an awful lot. An awful lot. My son is a fundraiser for a special group. His quota is $10 million a year. What he has to fundraise. But he doesn't have to do any hard work because the people are lined up to give money because they have to. They have to give that money away. They cannot spend it or keep it. They get their 501c taken. So they give it away. They set up these charities. They set up these organizations to give money to. And I think that the parents of children with autism on the south side of Chicago, west side of Chicago, north side of Chicago, and all the surrounding suburbs ought to come together and have fundraisers to help your children. You're paying taxes, but if you look at the conditions at the Chicago public schools, and you look at the conditions that many of the schools in the state of Illinois is in, that report card that just came out said that the public schools in the state of Illinois is overall is in terrible shape in the area of their children learning. So you can imagine what it's like for the children in special education.
Yeah.
If the regular general ed is doing so poorly, what's happening with children in the special ed?
But I promise you, we're gonna make you proud. I promise you.
Oh, I believe it.
I always tell you,
I believe
it's just one step at a time. So I promise you, we're gonna get together. We're gonna have big fundraisers. We're gonna do big things. Now you can't say I've been trying.
No, I know. You're doing all right. You're doing all right.
I'm trying.
If I'm talking to you, I'm preaching to the choir.
Okay. It's coming because I definitely, like I said, I'm not stopping. I'm just beginning. So my son, me and my son, we out here, spreading is past awareness now.
The dynamite duo.
Right. The autism mom and son duo, Tawana and George. So we passed awareness because everybody should be aware the numbers are skyrocketing. So it's time to do something. It's time for action. And everyone in the next 10 years, probably not even the next 10 years, the next 5 years you would definitely know someone with autism. So because the diagnoses are going crazy, and especially in our community. So please, it's easy. You can Google, TikTok, YouTube. Just look it up. Learn something about it. If you didn't already, if you didn't have a chance to get our book, y'all know I gotta plug my book. If you didn't get a chance to get the diagnosis, then stop the dream. You can head over to tawanabooth.com and purchase the book. It's also available on Amazon. So you can get the book, read my book, go on YouTube, just get information because you might meet someone and you'll be able to tell them, hey, did you get to one of Booth book or did you look on YouTube? You'll be able to know instead of saying, oh, I don't know nothing about autism. I haven't heard nothing about that. So get in the know because the numbers are going too high for you not to know. You would definitely know someone in your family. You would definitely it's too much around now. So get in the know, and if you do have a child on the spectrum, please get into therapies. Therapies changed my life. You have to be dedicated, you have to sacrifice, but the therapies definitely changed my son's life. speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA therapy, physical therapy, whatever therapy that's gonna help your child. We gave birth to these children, so put the children number one. Uh, give them the best that you want for yourself, and the best will come back to you in return. So I want to leave you all with that, and also me and George. If y'all didn't have a chance to get the book and don't go online, we will be at the 16th annual Answer Inc. Walkathon. We will be a vendor there. So if you didn't come out, come take a picture with me and George, purchase a book. We'll be there the whole ride. So look that up. If y'all haven't had a chance, come out and walk, come out and get a book. We'll be there. And also I said before I let go, I will be introducing. I told my story. Everyone has a story. My story is just my story. So you got a story to tell. I'll be partnering with a publisher, and you can write your story. And we're gonna have a writing class. I'm gonna write my next book in the class, and I will be able to help you all write your story and tell your story. So if you're interested in telling your story, stay tuned. Information is coming soon. We have a writing class. I'm looking to have an autism mom book club also. So we got big things coming where we can meet up as a group, get more information out. We could band together, be a powerful group of parents on the south side, get things moving and shaking for our kids because the numbers is going too high. So we want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And everybody let Dr. Brady know in the comments. Don't stay away from the blue table for no 3 years again. We know it was a pandemic because I was gone for 2 years. So, but he didn't come last year. But the reason why he didn't come last year is because he do have kids. He do have speech therapy. He's doing his job. Number one speech therapy in the world. So that's the reason why he wasn't at the blue table.
And this Booth, I'd like for you to invite me back to the blue table talk because I'd like to talk about the therapies that we have, the new therapies that are available. So
whenever you come back, I'll be right here in this office. Now, come on now. I'm right here in this office. You tell me when you come back. Look, that's because I had to put them on the spot. So when you coming back?
So whenever you invite me.
Yeah, okay. Because me and George be right here in this office. Y'all see us when we do our videos and everything. That's right here at Brady Speak. And I want to thank you, Mr. Brady, for always being a great support for my family, allowing us to use the space, giving us your time. We appreciate you since day one, since George was 4 years old. I always have to let you know that I'm thankful and grateful for you and your support, and we appreciate you. So until next time, it won't be 3 years because he said he coming back, and believe me, I'm gonna pressure him. We got him on tape, y'all. So he'll be back with so much knowledge, so much information. 39 years. Come on now, you know that's a lot of information. So we'll be here for days if we just sit up here. So, but we want to thank everybody. We know it's a Thursday evening. So, but we will be back. So look out for all the information that's coming soon. We will be back soon. Since he said he coming back for part 2. Where have Mr. Brady been? So thank you all for tuning in. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye bye. Oh, George, I forgot to thank my George.
Oh.